as you can see on the bottom of your screen there. The council itself has been meeting. It was an extraordinary council sitting, and they've decided to finally approve that contentious 2.5 billion rand loan that had been debated on multiple occasions. It seems it's finally gone through. Watching those developments at a close vantage point for us is our reporter Mbalenhle Mthethwa, who joins us now live. Mbalenhle, take us through how this all unfolded.
Well, Ayanda, if third time is a charm, it really speaks to what has happened here in council. The third time was indeed a charm. This item on the agenda has been on the agenda for the third time, and it has finally been approved. 247 members of the City of Johannesburg Council voted in favor of the loan, and 5 voted against, and there were no abstentions. And this, it seems, is part of an attempt to try and find other funding models, as it seems to have been difficult for municipalities, not only in the City of Johannesburg, but across Gauteng and possibly across the country, to collect on revenue from both households and business, and forcing municipalities to find other alternatives, such as a loan facility of this nature. Now, part of the debate inside council were that this loan application was shrouded in secrecy, and the loan term agreement, or the loan term of 15, the repayment term rather, of 15 years was also under scrutiny by the opposition, saying that this whole thing is shrouded in secrecy and should not be passed. But it was not to happen, because the loan facility has indeed been passed, and I'm joined by MMC for Finance, Dada Morera, Councillor Dada Morera. Thank you so much for taking the time to speak to us. You are the man of the moment. Why was it important to get this loan application approved?
Well, you'll remember that the 2023 June, we passed the budget. And in passing that budget, we also explained the different sources of revenue and income, and one of the sources was borrowings and loans. So as we passed that budget, it was obviously clear at that point that 2.5 will come from the borrowings, and we then made a call. So in fact, we're basically completing the work that we started in 2023, and at least over 78% of that budget, or the money, has already been spent. Now, I think for the last 3 meetings, it was just party politicking, but I appreciate that finally the parties came on board. The DA was more concerned about certain information, which we were able to share with them. Action SA, with a sizable number in council, was also concerned about the issue around availability charge. In fact, almost all parties were raising that. So we had to take those issues into consideration. And the EFF also came on board after understanding certain questions they had, which were then clarified. So that is why today it was smooth sailing, as the young people say. We're moving nicely today.
Okay, certainly. Now, when it comes to the 15-year repayment term that has been brought up by the opposition, saying that this is going to be a burden on residents, especially at a time when the city is unable to collect revenue in a manner that is effective and allows the municipality to then run sufficiently and become independent. Your thoughts on that?
Well, remember, you've got options when you go into borrowings. You look at whether it's a short-term borrowing or it's a long-term borrowing, and you also look at what are the interest rates related to that particular loan. And I think we did a lot of work before we came to a conclusion that we can raise this loan with the conditions that comes with the loan. So we are satisfied that the current interest rates on the loan are favorable to the city, and the fact that it's a long term, it will give us space to be able to repay the loan. And bulk of the money, as we are raising it to support our CAPEX project or our CAPEX expenditure. So it's something that we needed as part of our sources of income to fund our budget.
When you refer to capital expenditure, right, and infrastructure expenditure, what exactly are you looking into doing? Are you looking into perhaps building more social housing, given that the inner city of Johannesburg has been quite an issue? Also, the electrification of the informal settlements has also come up from time to time. What exactly are these capital expenditure projects that the city will indeed be expanding on or embarking on?
Well, we've got a variety of capital projects which were adopted as part of approval of this budget in 2023, and it could be electrification projects, housing project, roads, and all sorts of capital projects, bridges, etc., etc. So I may not have the actual list now of what we approved in this budget, but we are funding those capital projects. And remember, part of funding of some of those projects is through grants that we also receive from National Treasury that also helps us to be able to respond to some of our capital projects that we have as the city. So we've got three at least sources of funding, which is our own revenue, and national grants, and lastly it's your borrowings and loans.
Okay. And now finally, I think maybe we should make some time to go into much more detail, given that we don't have a lot of time to continue and delve into, what exactly and how exactly those funds are intended to be spent. Are you available to speak to the SABC exclusively on these matters and just have a sit down where we really delve into the finances and the funding model of municipalities, which is something that Salga in Gauteng is really championing for? Is there a need for a change in the funding model of municipalities?
Definitely there's a need of a change. We've always argued as local government that, remember, our assumptions has always been based on electricity and water surpluses. Reality is that those surpluses have shrunk, and it means that the model needs to change for municipalities to be sustainable. Otherwise, we're going to have a problem with a lot of municipalities already facing financial difficulties. So we need to review the model, and we hope that discussion will be taken seriously by national government to allow us to engage in that. I am ready to engage with SABC at any given time.
Just one last question. With regards to, the provision of services and revenue collection from businesses and residents, how has that experience gone, and have there been measures to try and enhance revenue collection in that regard? I remember the last time, one of the times we were here, we heard that councillors allegedly owe the city 2.7 billion rand and so on. Are there efforts to try and do that collectively, as a collective?
No. Councillors would not owe such an amount of money.
Yes.
It was quite very, very low, but majority of our councillors are on what we call staff accounts. So immediately their salaries are paid, we deduct their municipal bills, and we've got an office that monitoring our councillors on a month to month, and then every 3 months we then report on those that may be defaulting, but councillors by law are not supposed to default on their municipal bills. So we are monitoring that part. We are also monitoring businesses, and hence we are on an aggressive collection to ensure that businesses, residents, do pay their municipal bill. Our collection rate is worrying us. It's hovering between 85 and 86%, and we would want to maintain it at 90%, at least month to month. And by doing so, we think then the financial position of the city will improve for the better.
Thank you so much for speaking to us. There you have it. That is the MMC for Finance in the city of Ekurhuleni, speaking to us on the finances and the outcome of that very short council meeting, where the loan application of 2.5 billion rand was approved by an overwhelming majority. Back to you in studio.
Mbalenhle Mthethwa, live to us there from the Joburg City Council. Thanks very much indeed.